Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Conversations with Neighbor in Newmarket and Aurora. I've got Sean here. We're doing a combo, and it's a new feature we're adding where we have MPP Christine Elliott, the Honorable Minister of Health, and all those titles that she has as our guests this week. And we're going to weave a lot of government conversation in, lots of great things going on in our community and learning more about it. So welcome to the show. Do we call you Christine or...
Please do. It's great to join you, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I'm gonna call you that all the time. So when I see you at farmers markets and things like that in the future, I'm gonna say that. Also, as a guest, we've got a couple of guests today. But first up, we have Rob Clark from RC Design. I'll let him tell you more about his business. But I'd like to introduce you. If you haven't met him or don't know him, please meet Rob. Hey, Rob, you can talk, actually. We're on a podcast.
Okay.
The waving thing is good, but yeah, you're on a podcast, so you can talk. So I know there's lots of things. Go ahead. I'm going to throw it over to you, Christine, if you want to ask Rob some things.
Well, sure. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Rob, on winning the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce Small Business of the Year Award. That's great. And I'm interested to hear more about your design work and what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. Well, I've got a bit of a unique story. I started in my parents' basement about 20 years ago, and it's been kind of slow, progressive growth over that kind of 20-year span. So we are a full-service design and marketing agency located in the heart of Newmarket on historic Main Street, and we're a small team of 20 people, and we support a real eclectic, diverse group of clients, anything from hospitals and health and wellness through to not-for-profit, through to professional services, manufacturing, and kind of everything in between.
That's great. I have one quick question just to interject. Do you still live in your parents' basement? Or have you graduated from that?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't lived there for at least 6 months, Paul.
Nice. That's good.
At least 6 months.
No, I moved out some time ago, but yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. But I know, Christine, there's lots of government programs, for example, that are out there, whether they're federal, but I know recently the province announced something like within the last couple of weeks or so. Maybe you could tell us about that.
Sure. This is a program that came out on January 15th, a small business grant to help small businesses that have been struggling through the pandemic that have fewer than 100 employees that can apply for this grant. It can go anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, and that people can use the grant wherever they need it in their business. In some cases, it may be to help pay the rent or to help pay some of the employees, or it could be used to buy inventory. It depends on the nature of the business. But even though it just started on January 15th, we've already had over 64,000 applicants. So any businesses in Newmarket, Aurora that fall into the category that have had their business sort of lessened by 20% in the last year, that is a small business, they're welcome to apply through the Ministry of Economic Development. And we'd be happy to receive their applications and try to help them out.
That's great. Were you aware of that program, Rob? Or
I wasn't. We certainly in the beginning of last year, we ended up taking advantage of some of the wage subsidy stuff because everything sort of hit pause on recurring and more project-based initiatives we had going. But we're in an industry where everybody's kind of moving to digital, so we've been one of the fortunate. As much as I'm happy, I'm sad. It's unfortunate for other businesses, but we've been thriving through the tail end of 2020 into 2021. So I don't know that we'd be eligible for it. It sounds like.
But I would imagine there's a lot of businesses, Sean, that like the businesses we deal, sort of wearing our SNAP hats, that are impacted.
Definitely. I think like a lot of restaurants, I'm sure, are probably a big portion of that 64,000 people. And the boutiques that you see on Main Street and stuff that aren't able to stay open, I'm sure they're the ones trying to get some support from the government. They're shut down and they're only doing the curbside pickup.
Yeah, and I think just on that note, I think one of the challenges, I'm on Main Street Newmarket and sit on the local BA board here, and there's I think everybody, even though they may have the resources and time to kind of investigate into what grants are available, just the mental exhaustion that people are facing to think about something else that they need to kind of dig into and find. And while it may seem easy for some, for others, it may feel like it's an arduous task. So accessibility, I think, would be really important for people to easily kind of, the application process, whatever it might be. So I think that's a real hurdle sometimes for a lot of small businesses because they're just so burnt out right now.
But I think actually those processes are pretty easy. I know Snap took good advantage of it, and somebody in our organization, and they said the process was pretty good.
And we also have the programs for helping people with some energy costs and property taxes. We're trying to help in as many ways as we can, recognizing that each business is different and may have different needs. So we're trying to make it broad-based, but also as accessible as possible, because it is difficult for people when they've got financial pressures. They don't want to have to go through a very rigorous process with lots of paper and forms to fill out. We just want to get them the financial assistance that they need straight away.
And I think it's important, as a business guy myself, it's important that, I certainly think along those lines, it's important to be stimulating and propagating business, keep us going. I mean, at Snap, we employ 50 people, so it's really important to have those people still working and contributing and producing goods and services and all those things that we do. So that's great. Is there
that's
other?
one of the most difficult things that I've had to do in my job, because of course I'm looking at the health aspects of it, and we're dealing with the variant that's in the province now, and we're looking at case numbers and not wanting our hospitals to be overwhelmed. But I can certainly say to people that the economic loss is not lost on me. I know that as we've had to make some of these really difficult healthcare decisions, we know that this has been very, very serious for a lot of people economically, that their businesses that many of them have put their lives into and they and their families depend on have been very, very badly hit. So we really want to do whatever we can to help them financially until we can get through the worst of this.
Yeah, and it really makes sense. I would not want to be in your position. As a government, I mean, you've got sometimes competing agendas, right? People want to open. Rob and I and Adrian, who's coming on the show later, we can all appreciate that you need that entity to go and that economic churn and all that. And then, as the Minister of Health, you've got to balance it, but we want everyone to be safe and healthy. And there's always that catch-22 that's where not always, but we're in the middle of this catch-22 on everything. So I wouldn't want to be in your position, and I am
it's a tough
sure
situation, but I'm glad we have Christine in her position.
I was going to say I really appreciate having you in our municipalities to, as our MPP, as well as someone who's obviously shows compassion and takes care of the populace as well. So thanks for that role that you serve. Part of the fabric of what we are just neighbors and connecting with people and. Just making sure that we're engaged with people. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to wrap it up with you, Rob. I'm going to call Adrian into the show. I'm going to let you guys overlap a little bit, not too long, because, Rob can be infectious too. But now, let you overlap, and then we'll say goodbye, and we'll hear from Adrian, who's from the Newmarket Food Pantry.